Okay.
All righty. Well, thank you again for taking this time out today of your busy schedule and getting this interview done. So can you tell us your name and what do you do?
Well, thank you. My name is Ronald Sullivan, and I am the Chief of Acquisition, Personnel, and Ethics Law for Army Futures Command, headquartered here in Austin, Texas.
And what does that mean?
Well, Army Futures Command is the Army's newest four-star command, or Army Command. That's a command that's headquartered or led by an Army four-star general. Currently, it's General Mike Murray. And Army Futures Command is the Army's newest effort at modernizing the Army. So we're taking old systems, legacy systems, and weapons, networks, vehicles, aircraft, everything that's in our entire arsenal, and we're modernizing using technology and warfighters and other contractors, DA civilians, soldiers, to put our efforts together to see where the best of everything that we have is and how to make it all better.
Where were you born and raised?
Well, I'm an Air Force brat. My dad is the late Reverend and Master Sergeant retired in the Air Force, Richard D. Sullivan, and my mom, still alive and well, is Miss Clementine Sullivan. I was born in Ruislip, England, and I grew up in San Antonio, Texas.
You don't have that English accent?
No. I was there for about a year, and no accent, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Awesome. Well, you're a newly commissioned Brigadier General. So tell us about that.
Well, my life, I'm what we call it, dual citizen or twice the citizen or citizen soldier. And we have my day job is as the Chief of Acquisition Personnel Ethics for Army Futures Command, is as a Army civilian. And in the Army Reserve, I've been in the Army for 28 years. I was commissioned in 1993 after graduating from Howard University. That I went off to law school. Then my first assignment was in 1996 with the Army on active duty. Performed about 9, almost 10 years on active duty in various locations, and then switched to the Army Reserve and took employment with a couple of civilian government agencies before coming to Army Futures Command. But I stayed in the Army Reserve, where I've done a series of various judge advocate or Army lawyer jobs. And most recently, I was promoted to Brigadier General. There are 3 Army Reserve Brigadier Generals, and I'm the newest of them. And for our purposes here today, I can highlight that I'm the 3rd Black judge advocate in the Army's history since 1775.
That is amazing, and it's a shame. Wow. So tell us how you got started in the law, and why did you pursue a career in the legal field?
Well, I met my first lawyer when I was about 15, 16 years old in San Antonio for a mentoring program. And one of the things was I have a real interest in tech. So I have a tech background. I'm a programmer. My information systems degree from Howard was a natural progression. I love computers and the like. I also program and have my own technology company that I work on in my evenings and weekends whenever we find time to fit that in. I'm not sure where that happens, but it happens. And so I was really concerned about wanting to be a techie, continue programming, be a programmer. And the natural progression is programming, systems admin, CIO, and corporate exec. But also I had a desire to be a lawyer, and that lawyer said to me, no, you don't have to have a political science degree or a history degree. You can go to law school with whatever tools you come with, and that's something that will help you along the way. when I went off to Kansas School of Law, I met a gentleman, one of our professors. His name is Mr. Roscoe Howard. He has actually served as the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia in the second Bush administration. And he was one of my evidence professors and mentors. And he encouraged me to look at being a prosecutor. That's what he had done for his career up to that point of teaching. And what we decided was I would take a look, but I was really interested in corporate. I did a summer internship as a prosecutor, and that was, my love for litigating. So I started litigating. The JAG Corps, being that I had a requirement to serve in the Army, that was a wonderful fit because the Army was looking for litigators, international law personnel, and folks interested in actually practicing at what we call the tip of the spear. And since then, I actually loved it and haven't looked back.
So you decided to go the Army route, which, I have a background as well. And people always ask, what made you take that route? Because not only did you go into a career in the legal field, but you're also in another completely, different field from a lot of the other attorneys on the list. So tell us about that and what was your thought?
Well, my dad, as I said, was an Air Force Master Sergeant, retired. He made it up. He served as a first sergeant at a point, retired as a Master Sergeant. And I watched him serve at the end of his career. So it was easy to understand that people are people. We're all people. We have different backgrounds, but serving in the military was a noble thing to do. One thing that I'll say is that I'm very clear about the fact that each of the services has a mission. I originally wanted to go to Air Force Academy and fly planes. I'm colorblind, so I couldn't fly planes in the Air Force. I couldn't fly helicopters in the Army for that matter. And it was an easy, natural choice after knowing that I would like to be a lawyer one day to continue pursuing that. And the mentors that I had at Howard University were definitely supportive of that and encouraged me to continue pursuing it.
So one of the questions that I always ask is, what is it like being a Black male in the legal field, but you're also in the legal field and you're also in a military role also, right? And so talk about that experience.
Well, you're always who you are, right? You never get to take it off. We're not like a jacket on a hanger that you get to take off the hanger and do anything else with it. It's immutable characteristics is the way I talk to my mentees about being a Black male. And just like someone who's tall can't be short, and someone who's short can't be tall, or if you have a scar on your face, it doesn't just go away. So you take with you all your experiences and everything that you are. So I have always embraced the fact that I'm a Black man. I'm my parents' child, my wife's husband, and my kid's father, and I look like I am, and I can't do anything about it, and happy about it. So what I've done, I'd say, with my career is, with the background of growing up on the east side of San Antonio, growing up with an education at Howard. It was a different experience going out to Lawrence, Kansas, after spending 5 years in the DC area. But what I understood was I was sent there for a purpose. And I believe I probably learned as much about being in a non-rich African-American community as I did teach others about what it's like to have a Black man in your midst and who has an opinion. In my law school class, there were 6 of us, and the 6 of us had predominantly white institution education, as well as HBCU education. And what we did was shared our experiences with each other, and in law school debate, we shared that with our classmates. And I take that experience with me everywhere. So as I've prosecuted cases, something that might be cultural or something that might be a colloquialism in how someone expresses themselves, that could find themselves an individual, an accuser or defendant at the wrong side of a legal matter, to know what the information means, or to be able to read more into a matter. But it's almost like a foreign language. It's almost having that additional knowledge to advise other prosecutors. I served both as a prosecutor and a defense counsel, a trained defense counsel, and to bring that experience because someone has a bias that they start with, or a thought about something when they read a police report, or a commander who's never had an advisor who didn't share their same outlook in life. I've happily stepped in to be the advisor who I am. And I think everyone comes to a table with their experiences and advises from there.
Speaking of experience, is there one experience that you can recall where, you know, being a Black man, that you knew that other people probably have not had that same experience?
Well, I've got several. I could probably say annually there's an experience that, because I'm a Black man and standing somewhere, that the group that I'm with or the group that I'm advising or talking to would either be shocked or would kind of nod their head at, wow, that really happened, or you really think that, or so General Brown, Air Force Chief of Staff, gave a really emotional and direct appeal in a YouTube video about a year ago, at the beginning of the protests that were happening in the wake of George Floyd's death. And one of the things that he commented about was that he had actually gone to places with his pilot's wings and in a group with other pilots, and everyone would know that all the pilots there were, all the gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen, there were pilots. And the difference would be that he would be a Black man, a Black officer. And this had happened to him at various times in his career. And someone would then ask him, "And you're actually a pilot too, or you actually, did you go to law school?" Or I'm sorry, let me back up. They would say that to him, you're actually a pilot. You actually went to pilot school, you went to pilot training. And yeah, that would take him aback, and that he would have to defend that or comment about it, but that didn't happen to others. And you know, it's happened to me several times in my career, and yeah, it's a thing, right? So I think the first thought might be, I'm going to take it wide aperture. Whoa, you guys are all lawyers in the Army. Did you guys all go to law school, or do the Army do something special for you? And then there is a smaller aperture, which is, whoa, everyone here is lawyers. Everyone here has gone to law school. You also went to law school too. And the difference would be that I'd be the only Black person standing there. And then, so some instances you take it on head on and say, yeah, I'm a lawyer too. I went to University of Kansas. Before that, went to Howard University. Actually, I'm everyone's boss standing here. They all work for me, and I'm the, give my title or something, and maybe introduce them to some of my subordinates. And it's a way of, and even recount or identify where some of my subordinates also went to law school, and bring them into the fold. And maybe that's been my technique whenever that's happened, to educate, especially if it was being done to demean or to question whether I had the capacity or not. But I believe that our whole world has a viewpoint that sometimes it's as simple as, oh, you guys are all military lawyers, you all do some special training. And then, of course, in the world we live in, there's some people who have ill will in the question. A different, very different time I can give you is I was a young lieutenant, and at this at the installation, I was stationed at Fort Drum, New York. I was the only Black lawyer in the JAG office. I have about 22, 23 lawyers. And one of my mentors, his name is Larry Morris. He's currently the chief of staff and counselor to the president at Catholic University in DC. He was the SJA. There were 2 or 3 prosecutors in the office, and there was a racial incident, a hate crime. A young white man had been beaten up by about 4 or 5 Black men who were all in the same unit. And it happened because the young white man had said to his friend, who he had grown up with, they joined the Army together, another Black male, and he had called him the N-word. He just referred to him that way, and they were out socially. And so these other guys heard that, and they had beaten him up. He had wired his mouth shut. He was at trial. He was still wired shut, and he was healing up pretty well. But it was an aggravated assault case, about 4 different men who were on trial. And there was a motion in the trial. The defense had filed a motion to limit the use of the N-word at trial as to not incite an emotional outrage by the panel of the jury. And the prosecutors were pushing back on it, and they basically were saying, and the prosecutors are to this day really good friends of mine, they just were not aware of why push back. No, we want to say the word. He said, this is what happened, and we should push back on this. And I assisted them in making this trial strategy, adjusting the trial strategy. And this trial strategy would be, agree to their motion, use the word one time. The one time where the victim would use it in his statement. Leave it at that. And then make the absence of the word throughout the trial the thing that was glaringly obvious to everyone. The result was overwhelming conviction, significant jail time, and I think all interests were served. But I think that was an instance where me as a Black man on the prosecutor's extended staff, although I wasn't in that office, I was able to lend some credibility to the Army's case at that point. So being Black has its, I don't want to say advantages, it has its benefit when someone doesn't see it. And it's not like, again, you get to take it off like a jacket or something like that. And I bring all my experiences with it. Hope that wasn't too long of an answer.
No, you're fine. I took some questions from Tim Ferriss, and one of them is, what purchase of $100 or less has positively impacted your life over the last 6 months or recent memory?
What purchase of $100 or less? Purchase of $100 or less has impacted my life in the last 6 months. I'm thinking. I'm a scribbler, so I can probably say that I'm a scribbler. So I I use note cards as a way of keeping track of everything. So I've got note cards all around. So I'd say that saves my life a lot in that I keep up with a lot of things that way, a lot of information, and move it between um, notebooks that I keep, and being both in the Army as a day job, being in the Army as a um, reservist. I can tell you that I go back and forth between notebooks with notes, and that probably was not a super exciting answer, but I can tell you that that's me. I've always got a pen in my hand and note cards someplace.
Well, this is kind of an extension of that, but it's what is an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love?
An unusual habit or absurd thing that unusual habit. I drink unsweet tea all day. Unsweet tea all day. I should probably drink more water, but it is water that's been stained by tea, and it reduces my sugar intake, so it's not carbonated. And that's all day.
Wow.
Another boring answer.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not. It's just interesting to hear different ones. I think one of them was someone said they were addicted to gummy bears.
We have to do something to keep ourselves operating, and
It's all right. Okay. So if you had a gigantic billboard anywhere in the world and you could get a message to millions or billions of people, what would that message be?
Psalms 21:7. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? And that's because I believe that. And if everyone could just get around the fact that God is got our back no matter what, if you just hop into Him and hop into, that's not a church, that's not a religion or a religious denomination, that's not a particular preacher, that's not a group at the church that does something, but that's really just God. And He created the whole world. He'll be here at the end. If you could just put everything you have in God's hand, everything will be all right.
When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus, what do you do to get back to center?
Think about my wife, Nicole.
What do you think?
Say again?
What do you think?
Oh, well, we've been married for 24 and a half years. All I have to do is just think about her, and magically, it's not magically, it's purposeful that I can be centered. I think of where we've been, I think of where we are, I think of long walks we've taken and trips we've traveled on, and our two kids. I just think of us, and that's how I get centered. It doesn't really matter what situation I'm in. I think if you throw me in a lion's den, I'd probably think about God, and then I think about her, and it'd be all right.
And over the last few years, what have you become better at saying no to?
During the pandemic, I'd say that during the last 2 years, during this pandemic, for sure, I'd say I've become better at trying to whittle it down. What things do I say yes to a lot? What do things do I not say yes to more of? Taking unnecessary meetings. Do my best at not taking unnecessary meetings. So I would rather, or early on, I would double book myself, or rather over a period of time, I don't like unnecessary meetings. So over a period of time, I would double book. So then I could choose and have an excuse or a reason to tell the person whose meeting I did not come to that I had to go to another one that was more critical. And then after a while, I just got to the point, I believe, where I don't accept unnecessary meetings. Something that I know that someone else can handle. I would rather find a person on my team who can handle a meeting for me. I think it's also a great opportunity then when you know that someone needs to grow. I'd rather give a subordinate the opportunity at taking something that's a little more advanced possibly than where they are, or right in their wheelhouse, as opposed to spending my time doing it.
How has a failure or apparent failure or challenge set you up for later success?
Well, I have failed a lot of times. And so my dad taught me as a young guy, and watching him as I grew up, that you can only play the hand you're dealt, right? So you can't, couple failures that I've had is trying to do more than what I'm capable of. When I say that, I mean, it's very hard for me to just take on something within my wheelhouse. I'd rather always reach beyond my territory and try to do something more. It's just the go-getter part of me. And there was an assignment. I always talk about an assignment that I have. So I worked tirelessly to get an assignment at one unit, and the unit assignment was deputy commander of this particular unit. And I spent a lot of energy, a lot of capital trying to disqualify the competitor that I had for the job and show light onto the fact that while I might not yet have been, I don't want to say not qualified, I was qualified to do the job. While I might have been junior at the time, then it would have been more perfect in another year or two. I just spent lots of energy at it. I ultimately did not get that assignment. And I believe I did that by possibly burning a couple bridges there, or ruffling too many feathers there to prove that that was my assignment. I should have gotten that. And what I come to do is I did the next job that I was assigned to. And about 9 months into the job, I got a phone call from a commander of a different unit, and he says, I need a new deputy at my unit. I've heard that you have particular qualities I'm really interested in, and I need that in my unit. Would you be interested in coming? And so that opened up about 9 months later. I was in that job in about 45 days after that phone call. And it was a big job, and it was an amazing job, an amazing experience, and I excelled at it. And I got high marks at the job, great evaluations out of it. And it really has set me up. That selection set me up tremendously beyond that.
What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? It could be money, time, energy, whatever.
Spending time with my kids. So I have two sons. One is a musician, one plays football, college football, and let me back up. It's spending time with my kids. The most worthwhile investment is having spent time with my kids and be there at all costs. Till it might be unreasonable to someone else, that was barely reasonable to me. And my dad didn't have the opportunity to be at many of childhood events, after school events, extracurricular things. My mom would be there, and the one or maybe two events that he was able to get to for doing his job to the fullest. He was a workaholic, he was a pastor, and he was also a carpenter, so worked tirelessly, and that just wasn't important to him to be there. And for my family, what I committed to my wife when we were having babies was that I'll be here at as much of everything. So I was at every well baby appointment, and I today still continue to. If they have something that's going on, they will never look out and ever wonder, well, I wonder where my dad is. I wonder where dad is. They'll never have to balance was dad's whatever more important than what I'm doing right now. And if they don't see me, that's not the answer to the question. It might simply be that was not something that he could not be at or reschedule. And so my oldest son, who turned 23 yesterday, he's a musician. And I can tell you I missed 2 band performances in high school. And it's Friday night on the field marching band performances while balancing my career and military obligations. My youngest son, who plays college football, he is, I can tell you that I've missed him 4 times since he put football pads on in 6th grade. And that's, I wear that like a thing on my sleeve. We'll do all we can to be there. And I don't think that either of my kids would ever say that mom or dad weren't here because something else was more important. They would easily know that it was something else that couldn't be rescheduled or someplace we'd have to be.
What are the life lessons you've learned?
Life lessons. Was I supposed to study some answer questions before the interview, or
You have all the answers. They're all in you.
life lessons? Keep God first. Keep your priorities straight. God, family, and then you can start your list of other priorities after that.
What
People,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
people will disappoint you, so don't take everything you have and invest it in people. And if they do disappoint you, it's fine. You at least understand that the answer you were looking for will not always be the answer, or someone will let you down. Team is more important sometimes than self. But if you're on a team, you've got to take care of yourself. One concept that I've been challenging for about 5 years now is the concept of team and self and this balance. So I often have a cog in my pocket or a gear, and the idea of it's a piece of a machine. And so if you take the team concept, and everyone says there's no I in team, but if you're one of the Army's current concept is people first. And so if you say there's no I in team and you say the people first concept, then we must start with the basic building block of a person. So if we look at each of us as a cog or machine piece, and we take care of ourselves like that, wherever they take you out of the machine and put you in, you'll be able to do your job. So that's a life lesson I've learned is care about the team absolutely care about the team, but you've got to take care of yourself as well.
And what instrument does your son play?
So he's trained on the trombone, and he also plays bass guitar, a little bit of lead guitar, and keyboards. But he's a sound engineer. That's his. He makes music, writes music, and creates music.
Awesome. Who's your favorite person?
My favorite person. Favorite person was my mom's dad, my grandfather, Roy Sledge. The coolest dude ever. He died when I was in law school. Grew up with him like he was my best friend. We sat together on his porch and ate. With his pocket knife, we ate apples and cheese and crackers and liverwurst. So that's a weird habit. I still like to eat crackers and liverwurst. But my favorite person ever. And I'd say by a nose, my next favorite person would be my dad's mother. So my grandfather was Roy Sledge. That's my mother's father, and my dad's mother was Letitia Sullivan, and she was my gossip buddy. She taught me how to bake bread, like baking things, sweet potato pie, other things like that. But we, the triangle of the three of us, my grandfather was in San Antonio, my grandmother was in Detroit, but I can tell you those were my favorite people ever.
What do you see as your place or your purpose?
My place or purpose in life? Raise two sons that are productive members of society who do something to change the trajectory or advance everything that's been placed in my hand. My purpose is to affect others and make sure everyone knows that we're here because God wants us here. He gave us special abilities to be here, and with your special ability, you can change the world. It doesn't take much; it just takes a little bit of determination and drive, and each one of us can change the world. I do it through the practice of law. I do it representing God. I do it as a father, a husband, a son, teammate, a member of my community.
Speaking of which, how do you give back?
How do I give back? Mentoring, I think, is a number one way of giving back. So mentor till it hurts, I think, is a really good concept for every one of us. If you have a mouthpiece, you should use it. But that's like the beginning part. I think if you have a hand, you're supposed to be reaching to grab someone and pull them along. I believe if someone wants to be where you are, you don't have to take 5 days to explain to them the concept of how to get here, but you can explain in 5 or 10 minutes what can help that person get to the next stage. You can provide 30 minutes on various periods of time. And I think a major step for all mentors is to make your mentorship groups not all look like you. I think men should be mentoring women. I think women should be mentoring men. Cultural groups, out of our cultural groups. And what that does is that just kind of tosses us around. If we continue to mentor the same way over and over again, then all you'll do in 5, 10, 15 years is continuing to learn and do things the same way as everyone ahead of you who's just like you. I think you have to reach outside of even your business discipline. So lawyers should, because there's something to be learned in that. As far as that's concerned, I just believe that we're supposed to be picking everyone up. Lifting as a climb is a concept that came out when I was in college, I believe. And when you think of that, well, it came out before I was in college. And you think about that, if you see the big mountain of people who are just pulling each other and more folks, it really extinguishes the crabs in a bucket mentality. And I think that's important, mentorship.
My computer.
Did I lose you?
Going.
I think I lost you also. How about now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my computer was glitching. It seemed like. Hold on. I'm trying to. Let me cut some of this. Let me quit some of these windows I've got open. Maybe that'll help. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How about now?
Yeah.
I think we're back now.
Yeah. For some reason, I'm not sure what was going on. My computer was glitching, and it was like my mouse was moving and I wasn't moving it. All right, we're almost done. Just a few more questions.
I can tell you that, okay, I'm moving again now. Okay. That's,
Right.
I was.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on. Just a couple more questions. What do you, how do you want to be remembered?
Just a person who helped others as I went about trying to do what I was supposed to do. Everything's typically going to center around me and my family. So as a good son, good husband, good father, a good lawyer, or at least a decent lawyer, reliable person, guy who people could count on, and a person who helped others.
Where's the best place you've ever lived?
Best place I've ever lived. Well, the best place I've ever lived. It's kind of hard. Well, our first home after being married was in Sackett's Harbor, New York. And that's because my wife and I were stationed at Fort Drum, and that was where we lived. That was a lot of memories, a wonderful time to get to learn and the newlyweds have a concept outlook, plan our lives, think of where we were then and where we're going to be in the future. And that's where we started our family.
What's your favorite book or book you recommend?
My favorite book. So there's a book by Robin Sharma by the name, the title is Leader Without a Title. Leader Without a Title. I think that's one of my favorites.
Why?
because leadership is the basis for doing. So if you don't have the leadership basic skills, as well as being a military service member, being an Army JAG, leadership's just at the core of what it takes for an officer to be successful. What that book does is it about four concepts basically. It gets to the center of you can lead where you are, and whether I make you the CEO of the largest corporation or put you in charge of the homework list for the day at an after school program, you've got to be in charge of leading that. You've got to do your responsibilities in those concepts. You don't have to have a title to lead. You don't have to have a title to make the place where you are better. Sometimes there are people who need a leader, and if we gave you a title, you would not necessarily serve that role properly.
What do you enjoy doing in your leisure time?
Well, currently, when I find some leisure time, I am restoring my dad's 1964 F-100 truck. And so I drove that truck when I was in high school. It was his work truck. And about a year before he died, he gave me his truck. And he considered selling it, and then he gave it to me. So I've been working on it since then. And gotten a pretty good ways through some of the basic restoration.
What does it mean to be chosen as one of our top 10 lawyers for Central Texas?
Well, it's really an honor to be selected as one of your top 10 Central lawyers. I'm tremendously humbled. It's a little overwhelming when you start thinking of all of the various disciplines that are being practiced here in Central Texas, and all of the legal giants who are around, who I hear their names. I've not met them all, but there are some who you just know there's a giant here, there's a giant there, to be considered one of the super lawyers amongst them. And even with the group of lawyers that were selected, it's definitely humbling, and it's an honor.
Well, that was my last question. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think I hopefully didn't embarrass you too terribly with feeble answers to questions. Unsweet tea is just the thing. I'm sorry.
You can't be a Southerner.
Say again?
You can't be a Southerner with unsweet tea. Come on.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm getting old now. You can't drink a cup of sugar 12 times a day.
Yeah. Well, people in Texas, somehow they manage it for
They do. They absolutely do. Absolutely do.
I've never seen drinks as big as I've seen them. I mean, we don't even drink sodas. So, I mean, my kids don't. They don't drink.
Route 44 from Sonic with nothing but 12 cups of sugar inside.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's all, like I said, that I have. What else do we have? Did you send me a picture yet?
Did I do? I don't think I did that yet. So I do need to send that to you. I can do that here shortly. Apologies for that. Let me tell you that November 20th is, I've got one thing that I'm waiting for to determine if I can actually attend the event. But there are other people who control my schedule. And it's not, again, because there's something more important. Sometimes there's things I can't move off the schedule, but it will not be for a lack of desire to be there if it comes out that way.
No. Well, we do have obviously an award for you. So I'm not sure if you have a proxy.
I understand. I'll see what we can do there.
We'd love to have you guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am really, again, it's overwhelmingly humbling, just to be in the group of folks that you've selected me with. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why my photo, looks like my video is,
Yeah, yours is off.
I don't know why. It's just gone for some reason. But my picture pops up. There I am.
There
I
you
mean, it's not like I'm I need to be on screen, but yeah, I mean, this is always my, one of my favorite things to do is do these top 10 lists. I know when I started, folks were like, I don't think you're gonna be able to do this every year. And every year we're surprised at how many people are in our community, like you. And that's what's really crazy. I mean, it's like, the level of expertise that's in our community is absolutely amazing. So this really does, it helps folks to see people like you, and depending on, where they want to go and what they want to do, they have so many options, right? So
Right.
to be able to serve in a legal field in the Army, or, in like one of our other ones, she's a judge, and, just in different fields. So it's really cool. But
I didn't meet my first Black lawyer in San Antonio until after I was well out of law school. Having grown up there my whole life.
And I will tell you, I'm just trying to remember when I was younger, if I even remembered seeing a Black lawyer. I mean, I'm a little girl from Alabama though, so.
What part?
It's called Monroeville.
Okay,
It's like in between Montgomery and Mobile.
I understand.
Right.
Down south.
But
Good.
all right, well, look forward to seeing you guys in November, hopefully.
For sure. And there's more information, I imagine, coming as how to register or make sure.
Yeah. So I'll send you some information on, obviously we love to, we've got some, a lot of other companies, obviously they sponsor, their person. I know being in the Army,
It's not going to happen.
I know, that's exactly what I was like, you look at that and it's like, that's just not what they do. So, but of course, we'd love to have you guys, but I will send you information on that.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely trying to get there, and Nikki and I are looking forward to it. And I hope to definitely see you and meet you and
Sure.
shake your hand and thank you and your team.
For sure. Well, I look forward to hearing I would love to see her, just to hear. I mean, some of you guys are just, big sweethearts. There's a couple that, it's like one guy, I think he said his favorite person was someone, and he goes, you know what? I need to change that. I really do admire my wife. And I mean, his wife is amazing. I know her and she's absolutely amazing. And so I was like, you know what? That's probably a better one. That's a better
Well,
one.
my wife knows she's my favorite person ever. And at my promotion ceremony, she heard me talk about her, and I do that in the drop of a dime. But she also knows who my grandfather and my grandmother were to me.
Exactly.
So
That's where you come from. Speaking of which, so I do want to share your promotion. So if you have a press release or just an article on it, if you could forward it to me, because I'd like to talk about that in the magazine as well, separately.
Okay.
We've got some other folks who are doing some really cool things, and so we want to.
Is this before the event or not? We haven't done this. They're waiting for a particular picture to be. There's a uniform photo, official photo they're looking to take. But I do have one. I have one of me in my robe and my one-star flag. I just don't have it in my uniform. So
yeah, let's do that one. It's going to be in the magazine. It's basically, we're doing like a, good news kind of thing. One of like a couple of our folks from last year have gotten really big promotions, and, just celebrating their success. And so obviously, aside from your article.
I can do that. I can share with you the Army JAG course press release and then that photo, and you can.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, Anita, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for your time. And I know I'm a little over, so appreciate your patience.
All right.
All right, we'll see you soon.
All
Bye-bye.
right.